Gonna take it. Got it! Boston wins!
Two legends in basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him. I was okay with it because it wasn't about talent, I didn't think.
All right, let's get right to it.
On a snowy day here in Boston, we come to you from Massachusetts in another edition of the Ryan and Goodman podcast. And Bob has already gotten rid of the glasses. I actually got glasses a couple months ago, Bob, and it was the worst move I ever made. I don't think I really needed them, but now every time I take them off, I can't see crap. So
there you go.
It's horrible.
I was 65. I was pretty lucky. That's a lot longer than most people ever go before they need it.
No doubt.
It's the reading. It's the reading.
Now they've got the three kinds, right? The three levels. So whatever they're called.
Progressive. They're called progressive.
Progressive, right? Progressive glasses. So that's what I got. So it's hard enough for me figuring out how to use them reading or at the computer. Now I've got to also, if I'm watching TV, but I've got the laptop or the phone in front of me, I got to figure out, all right, at the bottom, I'm reading, at the top, I'm watching TV. Like, it's way too complicated for me, but I think I got it almost. I think I got it.
You'll get it. All right.
I don't know. My daughter says I look old. I look like a grandfather in the glasses that I picked out. And like an idiot, I picked them out without my wife being there. It's no surprise. All right. So Ryan and Goodman podcast coming to you every single week, again, from snowy Massachusetts today. And let's start out on kind of a somber note. A guy you know well, I'm sure, who was the commissioner and really provided a platform for the NBA to get to the level that it is today. And the commissioner for 30 or so years, David Stern, had emergency brain surgery last Thursday. He had a brain hemorrhage in New York City, was rushed to the hospital from a Midtown restaurant, and hopefully he is okay. We haven't really heard anything since, and that kind of scares me a little bit that nothing has been reported to his condition. I'm hoping he's okay. He was always, I didn't know him, Bob, but he was always, to me, just one of those personalities that you wanted to sit and maybe pick his brain and have lunch with. He was just so different than almost every commissioner we've seen from every league. So smart. He knew he was so smart, and still probably does from his hospital bed. But entertaining, brilliant, and again took the NBA to a different level. What's your kind of fondest or and I don't want to make it look like this is something, again, David Stern hopefully is okay. But what do you remember about him now that he's no longer the commissioner?
It's very interesting to me that you identified him so well with the disclaimer that you really didn't know him that well, but you have characterized him very, very well, Jeff Goodman. I did know him over a 30-year period, maybe more, and I think I'm very much in the mainstream of writers that he was a totally engaging and fun guy, an accessible commissioner. He got it, with us, very much so. And it tells you a lot about David Stern that if it wasn't his very first move, it was right among the first moves he made, and within days of ascending to the commissioner's job, that he went and plucked a public relations person of great renown in our business, Brian McIntyre. Brian McIntyre was known to us all from the Bulls and from the big people, other people from the Big Ten, and he brought Brian into the league office. And Brian McIntyre served as the league's public relations director for many, many, many years. And he's a guy that we all loved. And he got us, and we got him, and it just told you something. That one of the first things he wanted to address was media relations and public relations. So David. He's a fun guy. He's a funny, brilliant man, but he's got a devilish sense of humor and just it's just a delight. You're right. He was, to me, a delight to be around always. There were people who, he clashed with some people because of policy, and that's fine. Like for example, the one big flashpoint that seemed to really alienate a lot of people in the business was the dress code. A lot of people didn't take well to the dress code.
Yeah.
Because, some felt that he was going after African American players specifically. That and guys knows there's anything he's not is any remotely kind of a racist. But anyway, he had to deal with that. But David, I took this very personally, hearing about what happened to David. I personally did a podcast with him a year and a half or so ago. There was a lot of fun, as usual. He's a visionary, first, I think, in his job. And you're right. You used the word taking it to another level. He absolutely did usher the NBA into this the global phenomenon that it now is. And he ushered it into that. And he was very humble about it. I remember having a sit down with him in 1996 at the NBA Finals because I was doing a magazine story, and I sat down with him for a couple of hours at the finals between the Bulls and the Sonics in Seattle. I remember, and he was not taking credit for stuff he had done. But I just said, well, I just went and asked questions. I'm not a marketer. I don't know anything about marketing, but guess what? Yeah, he knew a lot about marketing. And one of the things that impressed me at the time was he sought out advice, if you will, and bounced things off other commissioners. He bounced stuff off Roselle and Tagliabue. He bounced stuff off Bud Selig before him, the others. So anyway, that was very interesting too. And of course, he begat Gary Bettman. Gary Bettman was his right-hand man.
Yep.
So they were in good touch all those years. But anyway, so many things I can say. Now, one, the great tells you a lot about David Stern. 1986, there was a league meeting out in Phoenix, and the purpose of the biggest number one thing on the agenda was entertaining expansion pitches from 7 cities.
Okay.
And this is a point when they had just come through all kinds of turmoil in the league, and they were talking about consolidation at one point, a couple of teams, and we're talking about this and that, and there was a little bit of doubt about this, not stability, but the viability, the whole impressive start of the league. Anyway, 7 cities march in, and they give these impassioned, detailed, very impressive presentations that later begat the likes of Orlando and Minnesota and Miami and Charlotte, Okay. And he said when it was over, he said, after listening to these people, I think it's the reverse of the Groucho Marx story. I think if all these people want to join the club, we should let them all in.
And he did.
And they did live of it. But I hope David can survive this. I did see this is a very serious circumstance. This type of a brain hemorrhage, and particularly he is 77 years old. But it was a shock, and it's affected a lot of people. I've had communication from a lot of people, saying we hope David's going to be okay.
Bob, the one thing that I always thought about with him is, seeing him from afar, that he was almost incapable of spin, which so many commissioners try to do. And it just seemed like whatever he said.
Yeah.
Now, again, he was smart enough probably to figure out what he could and couldn't say. But to me, it just seemed like all the time, like David Stern, there was just no BS. He was going to say it, whatever was on his mind. And as a media member, my guess is he was a quote machine as a commissioner.
Oh yeah, he was. He made a point to make the rounds during the playoffs. When he'd go to games and he'd come into the press room before the game and say, "Hi, how are you?" And I remember we were. There was a particularly funny point in time about 20 years ago when the league was in the midst of what I personally refer to as its ice age. When defense uber alles, you were lucky to get 100 points in a game once a week. When guys were holding the ball, and it wasn't great. It was pretty. It was, and I said the league was in the clutches of fraidy cat coaches, most of whom were happier when they did not have the ball than when they did. And the league, and this of course carried over into college at that time as well. But this is hurting, and he was on the defensive with this because we're all writing about these NBA. Look at some of those scores and those Knicks. Oh God, and then the slog basketball of the Knicks and the Rockets, and with the Riley when Riley reinvented himself in thug ball, with New York with Charles Oakley and company, and the games weren't. They weren't free flowing and artistic, and they weren't showcasing the league's talent, I don't think, the way they should have. And David was on the defensive with this, but he would come in and jar and joust with us and say, well, you guys like a 1-0 baseball game, don't you? And that kind of stuff. Yeah, well, sometimes we do, but he was willing to interact with us always.
How much of that was off the record stuff? Like he'd come in, he'd spar with you, he'd have a little fun with you. Was it just understood? Because that's the beauty for me when I'm dealing with coaches or league commissioners or whether it's NBA, college, whatever level, is to try to figure. Tom Izzo is a great example. Tom Izzo will say anything, and you feel like when you walk away from him, you don't know if he knows if he was on the record or off the record sometimes, and you want to protect him from himself.
Right.
So sometimes, oftentimes I find myself not writing what he says because I feel like there's no difference, right? He doesn't say when he's off the record, and I wonder how many other people are like that too. With Stern, was that the case ever where he just go and go and go, and you had to determine what was really on or off the record with him?
I'd say pretty much that would be the case.
Yeah.
There was, and of course, it depended on who he was talking to too, but I just think so. Yeah, pretty much so. But he was unlike some people, I just never had it. I don't have any negative thought about him. Nothing. I mean,
really,
none. No,
never got into it with him about anything.
He was good natured.
Yeah.
He knew, because what bonded us? He loves basketball.
Yeah.
And he knew I love basketball. And anybody who really, you and I know that in our job, people have to understand this. Sometimes you're doing you're put in a position where you're covering a sport that you totally love and you're proprietary towards it. And other times you covering a sport that you appreciate, you understand it, but it isn't your heart. That's me in football. I'll be honest.
Yep.
The two I love are baseball and basketball, and I don't know enough about hockey. So I mean, I've never got sufficiently versed as I wanted to be about hockey. But anyway, he knew I was a basketball oriented person, a basketball junkie, quite frankly. And he grew up in New York and in the island of Manhattan, son of a deli owner. I think it was the Upper East Side, and a
lawyer, right? He was a lawyer.
But he was a Knicks fan.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Knicks of Ernie Vanderway and Vince Barilla and Carl Braun with the two-hand overhead set shot, Sweetwater Clifton. He grew up with those guys, and then he went to school at Columbia, of course, and on from there.
Well, let's hope David Stern can get healthy at 77, and maybe he can even see the Knicks, win a few games. That may be too much to ask for, but the biggest thing, David Stern, get healthy. We miss you. You were entertaining for everybody, and it's certainly something that again is not to be taken lightly. Brain surgery at any age is scary. Let's get onto the court a little bit, Bob, and a big streak that I think went completely under the radar. 18-game winning streak was snapped last night. We're recording this on Tuesday. The Milwaukee Bucks won 18 straight, and I don't think anybody was really did anybody know, Bob? I mean, this
was the Lakers and in that regard. They won 14 straight on the road as we speak, I believe. And the Lakers, because it's LeBron, he's it dominates. And Milwaukee is still, Milwaukee, and it's not a major market. I've always been proprietary to Milwaukee. I spent a lot of time there in the 70s, because of Kareem and those guys, those teams. But anyway, they have really done it, and really coming out the blocks. And Antetokounmpo is building on his MVP. He's building at 48 last night, and he's just breathtaking. Quite
special.
And they did, by the way, and they did all this mostly without Chris Middleton, who was acknowledged to be their second best talent. And anyway, one thing is, I got my heart stirring was who making a nightly contribution. After
I know who you're going to say.
Last night, Dante DiVincenzo.
Yes.
He is becoming a factor. And, that kid is so, dare I say, can I use the A word? He's so athletic. Can I use that?
Well, they have two white guys who are super athletic, including one from around here, Pat Connaughton, who's got like a 40. I still dispute the 44-inch vertical, by the way, that he got at the combine. I don't buy. I'm going to get him here. Back when he comes home, he lives in Hampton Beach when he comes home.
Oh, does he?
He does. So
I did not know that. No.
Yeah, I stood him up by accident about a year and a half ago. We were supposed to meet, and I totally forgot. We were supposed to meet at a great Chinese food restaurant right at Hampton Beach called Ocean Walk. And he said the last time he was stood up was by some like model or something like that. I said, well, yeah, I'm not in that class. I just totally blanked on it. And Pat's one of the best kids. In fact, we'll do when he comes into Boston, maybe in the off season or whatever. We'll do a pot. You will, if you haven't been around him.
I haven't been.
Oh my, Bob, you will absolutely love this kid because he can talk with anybody. He's the type of kid who just gets it.
Yeah, well,
if you know what I mean. And I can expand on that, but for you, it'll be just hanging with him, and there's no BS with Pat Connaughton. Yet everybody likes him, and that's the hardest thing to balance, right? If there's no BS and you say it the way it is, but you don't offend people,
right. It's
like a skill. I can't do it. You've probably done it pretty well in your career and your life. I can't do it.
Well, I'm glad. I'm anxious to meet him then. And of course, naturally, I'm proprietary to any local kid. I admire any local kid that can make it, and he very much is that. So that's good to know.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a round table of Pat Connaughton and George Niang, two of my favorite.
He's one of my favorite players to watch in the last 10 years in college basketball.
He's awesome, and they're both similar kids in terms of, again, no BS, going to say it the way they see it. George will offend people probably a little bit more than Pat will, but they're both pretty good. Anyway, all right, the Bucks. Giannis is putting up crazy numbers, but last night, now they're without Eric Bledsoe now, which I don't think is that.
People think is a blessing at times.
I say that. I say, listen, the problem with the Milwaukee Bucks comes down to point guard play and Eric Bledsoe. And I don't trust them winning the East, even though they won 18 straight.
Oh yeah, a long way to go with.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't know. There's just some. You put Ben Simmons on Eric Bledsoe in the playoffs. I think he's going to just swallow him up. And I know Bledsoe's fast, but I don't trust him mentally. I actually think he's got the physical tools, Bob. I don't trust him mentally. And Chris Middleton, as good as he's been, and he's kind of the number 2 guy to Giannis. I don't know. There's something about him. And for me, it boils down to Eric Bledsoe. I know what the something is. It's Eric Bledsoe. I don't trust him as their point guard to get to the NBA Finals, even though Giannis is Giannis. Chris Middleton's a good Robin to the Batman there. And they've got great, parts. The Lopez twins. Have you seen these videos, by the way? Have you seen these Bucks videos lately?
No. But I've heard about it.
No, you have to watch these videos. It's like WWE wrestling in the hallways. I guess it's right before the games. And the Lopez twins are complete knuckleheads in a good way. I remember interviewing them both at Stanford, and they love going to like amusement parks and
comic books.
Comic books. Yeah, they're just kids at heart. So my guess is this was started by Robin Lopez, because he's at the center of all these videos, getting pummeled by whether it's Giannis or other players. You got to watch it. It's entertaining. And what it shows, Bob, I think more than anything, is just the chemistry and the camaraderie with this group. And that's why a big part of why they've won 18 straight is because when you talk to people, whether it's Pat Connaughton, I know Vin Baker well, who's an assistant coach with the Bucks, they absolutely love Giannis as a teammate, as a leader, as a guy who's got no ego, and when that happens, everything else just kind of falls.
It's so incredibly important when the best player has great work habits and personality and gets who he is and all that. It's like when Larry was in his prime, and he always made a point of befriending the 12th man. Yeah. Or befriending the 10th, 11th, 12th man. And, without saying, I knew damn well that's what he was doing. He didn't take hold a press conference to say, this year my guy is,
Michael Smith, right?
Yeah. Eric Princeton, but whoever. But Larry Rick Carlisle was that guy.
Yeah, sure.
When he was a rookie. And
but Larry also clashed, didn't he? Like he was a great leader in a sense, but was he a great leader because he still clashed with teammates because he expected so much out of everybody?
Well, it's primarily Kevin, and there were two rival empires almost at times, and Larry thought Kevin. He kept saying Kevin should be an MVP. Well, the code, the interpretation of that is he doesn't think Kevin worked hard enough. And Kevin would look at Larry and say, "Get a life." Larry couldn't understand why Kevin could be joking until the ball was thrown up. Yeah. Then Kevin would put on his game face. Larry's game face was on when he got into bed in the morning. Right. And they're just were different personalities, different people. And today, I mean, it's not like they ever became enemies. They were never enemies. It was just,
they're not buddies. They didn't hang out.
Right. They weren't hang out buddies, but God knows they know how much each of them meant to each other professionally. I'll never forget when Larry missed that whole season basically with the Heels in 88, 89. And he comes back, and in the exhibition season, I remember they had a game in Worcester against somebody, doesn't matter who. And Larry's back, and now Kevin's getting these feeds he hadn't been getting for a year. He's getting the ball exactly where he wanted it. The ball, put the hand up, and the ball magically appears at the hand. When Kevin's at the right, he's got the half step on the guy. He's got the guy sealed off. He hadn't had this for a year, I mean, so by the way, when they talk about greatest passing forwards, and I totally will acknowledge LeBron it's either one, and I can make a case for Larry, and I'm sure somebody can make a case for LeBron, but I really believe Larry still had more all-around passing ability than LeBron, but maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, he was a great post feeder.
Yes.
Now
that's the difference. LeBron in open court.
That's an irrelevant talent now, because there is no post play as a rule. So it doesn't matter. You don't have to, but Larry was a great post feeder when that was a primary thing.
Listen, for those who haven't seen Larry's passing, I mean, both of them, incredible. Both of them just see everything. Their IQ, like either could have played, I get a kick out of it when people are like, well, could Larry Bird have done what he did in today's game? Of course he could have. Like he was so special and could have played in any era. Same thing with LeBron James. It doesn't. Those guys' IQs are off the charts, and that's the one thing they look at LeBron right now. He's leading the league in assists.
I'm just apoplectically, I don't know what to say about how great he has been this year. The weapons, he didn't have the way to.
Yeah, he knew last year. There was a cap on what they could do last year, right? I mean, he knows he can judge talent,
but he's stimulated. All right, how's that? Trying to find the right word to what this presence of such a rare, wonderful talent such as Anthony Davis has done for him, and to the point, the manifestation that anybody can see. He's leading the league in assists, and it has a lot to do with that. No question.
All right, let's finish up with the Bucks first, and then we'll go on to LeBron and Bronny, because I think that's an interesting topic that we'll hit on. The one thing that I think is lost a little bit with Milwaukee, and everybody talks Giannis, is coaching.
Oh, yes.
I think Bud is one of the elite coaches in the game right now, and what he's done with that roster since he took over. I mean, think about it. Since he took over, and again, I know Giannis kind of made that jump. He's in year 7, I think, right now in the NBA. He kind of took that. He was ready to take that jump when Bud took over, but he's given him confidence. I think Giannis now is shooting 32% from 3, which, if he can bring that up a little bit more over the next couple of years.
5, 6, 7, that's.
But the one reason why I give Milwaukee a shot is because of Bud and what he's been able to do. And you wonder how much Atlanta regrets letting him go, right? I mean, he's an elite coach in the league right now.
And it's interesting. I just did a thing. I'm tooting my own horn here, but if anybody that doesn't know, there's a publication called Basketball Times. I've written for it for 43 years, and or it's Antecedent Basketball Weekly, and I have a column coming out next month about the interesting situation about where coaching is in the NBA today. And here's why I have a point to make here. I'm going to get somewhere. Don't worry. There are 30 jobs available in the NBA. 9 of them are currently held by ex-players. Okay, 9. Okay. Ranging, and led by, of course, Steve Kerr with the rings. But 9 of them are ex-players. In the old days, in the first 25 years of the league, the preponderance of coaches were ex-players in the league. And then there was a little influx of college players in the late 60s, early 70s, starting with Butch von Bredikoff in L.A., and then they hired Joe Mulaney in L.A. to succeed him from Providence. And then we got the Fitch and the Mata and the Cotton Fitzsimmons crop that came in that coached for the next, better part of 20, 25 years. All right. What the preponderance of the biggest majority of categorization of coaches in the NBA today are unknown guys to the American public who have apprenticed in everything. Some of them coached in college. Some of them coached in Europe. Some of them coached in the G League. Some of them coach in all these places. And that's the preponderance. There are more coaches that fit that mold in the league today. Steve Clifford, on and on and on.
Yep.
Budenholzer.
Well, Spoelstra when he got the job, right? Spoelstra,
right, and etc. And none of them have a public profile. Maybe supposed to because they won. Until Mike Budenholzer wins, the American public isn't or makes a deep run or gets to the finals. It's amazing. He's in all these guys as good
Brad
as
Stevens. The only reason Brad has it is from college.
Right. There's only two guys that that went directly from college. He's one. And the other one, I forget there's another one. But
Beilein.
Oh, yes, that's it. Oh, that's what sparked all this in writing this story was John Beilein's problems in Cleveland.
Exactly.
Right.
Who, by the way, I talked to somebody this morning on the Beilein situation, and they said, listen, Cleveland knew what they signed up for. This roster stinks. They were never going to be good. And what this person said, this NBA executive told me was, why didn't somebody, whether it's Dan Gilbert or Kobe Altman, the GM, come out and say, John Beilein's our guy after this? Why didn't they come out and say, hey, listen, we know we're not winning this year. We know we got a long way to go, but John Beilein is our guy. They should have, shouldn't they?
Except if they had done that, though, and then people would have, I'm just throwing this out there, then people might have said, that's the old traditional vote of confidence. You know what that usually leads to, a firing 6 weeks later. I mean, could they have won that by doing that? Some, maybe not,
Wouldn't it have been good just for Beilein, though? Just for John Beilein to realize, hey.
Privately, as far as we know, maybe they did it privately. Maybe
you got to do it publicly there. I think you got to do it publicly rather than hanging them out to dry when people are taking shots at them. And again, this group in Cleveland is not built to win, and they're not built. It's really a group that they've got a couple of young guys, but again, everybody's going to be gone on this team other than Larry Nance Jr., Colin Sexton, Darius Garland, and if they can just get somebody to take Kevin Love's contract, which is not easy.
No. Someday I want to talk about Kevin. I said this the second time I said this. Someday I just want to talk about Kevin Love. But anyway, so we want to get back to what I was saying now. Yeah. So the preponderance of coaches in this league fit the categorization of extensive background, had nothing to do with prior NBA until playing at all, but may have very well had to do with G League, D League coaching, assistant coaching. In the case of Spoelstra, he was a video guy, But here's one guy in the league that when I was doing my little research, because I knew nothing about him, zero. Taylor Jenkins, I knew.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Well,
Hawks assistant, right?
Right. Here's his amazing tidbit.
Go ahead.
He's the only one of all these guys. I double checked on Beilein because I wasn't sure, but he definitely had a 4-year college career at Jesuit Wheeler Jesuit. Same where Jim O'Brien, the other Jim O'Brien, coach. He never played college basketball.
Never played. The only one.
He did not play college basketball. He's listed as Penn intramurals. I'm saying if intramural playing is a criteria, I'm qualified.
You're good.
And not only that, Jeff Goodman, but I refereed one year the championship game in both the day league and the night league.
Listen, if that's the case, if intramurals is okay, then I can coach in the NFL.
Is that right? Huh?
Yeah. Like I played intramurals at Arizona for football, so like I can coach in the NFL. I'm gonna throw my hat in there.
Wait a minute, time I gotta have a 20 here. You got this isn't tackle you're talking.
No, hell no.
Talking touch, right?
No, just touch. Yeah.
Oh, all right, I'll make sure. Because we didn't have at BC formal intramural touch. We had informal touch. We play a lot of touch, but it wasn't. But we did have a definitely well structured day league and night league basketball, intramural basketball. Yeah. Anyway, Taylor Jenkins never played college basketball.
Interesting.
But how all these guys, starting with Bud, could walk down the street in America unnoticed. No,
100%. Nick Nurse. Come on.
Now,
he just won a title, Bob. He just won an NBA title. And Nick Nurse, you could walk down the streets of Boston with Nick Nurse. How many people would recognize him?
Now maybe maybe he would be recognized in Flin Flon or in Chicoutimi or
Right.
Yellowknife or out in the Maritimes too. But not in America.
No. Nick Nurse has done a really nice job with a Toronto team that I thought would fall off the absolute face of the earth this year without Kawhi Leonard.
They are enjoying themselves. You know what I'm saying? They are definitely enjoying thumbing their nose at the world, led by Pascal Siakam, who is now stepping up. You're talking all-star, you're talking talking making a bid for, certainly making a bid to be all-league second, third team this year.
No, he came out of nowhere, Bob. The guy came out. He played in New Mexico State. I mean, I knew of him loosely, but didn't really know much about him. And he just plays hard, and he's more skilled than anybody gave him credit. And obviously, you could tell he works his ass off because he continues to get better. And their DNA, even though Kawhi's not there, their DNA has kind of remained the same with guys that Nick Nurse loves because they're kind of like Nick did, right? Nick went through the junior college ranks, and nobody thought he'd get here.
Wait a minute. How about England? How about Antarctica? I mean, this is the other background. Some of them have it. He's Exhibit A. I mean, you talk about coaching all over the map. We don't mean the United States map. We mean the world map. Oh, absolutely. Of course, Brett Brown, of course, another one from Australia, going back to coach the Aussies in the Olympics next year again.
I know. Very cool. Very cool.
Anyway, Nick Nurse, England. He's well known in Birmingham or somewhere,
But how about, you've got Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet as your guards. They're both, how big? Both of them might be 6 feet.
6 feet.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, right.
And they play together. First of all, the fact that you could play two guys that small together, neither are great athletes at all.
But I love
it. They just, they get it. They play hard. They play tough. They've got that Kawhi mentality without the talent that Kawhi has, without the natural ability.
So I would think that their fandom is getting their money's worth. You know what I'm saying? I think they're absolutely getting their money's worth. They're right in there. They're 18-8 as we speak, and they're that's good. It's nice. I'm really happy that it hasn't gone the Cleveland post LeBron route.
That's right. That's right. Which it could have.
Opposite. They're holding their head up high. They're an Eastern threat. So good. God love them. I like it.
Now the only thing you worry about is if they're good but not great. How do they get great again? Can they get great again? Because ultimately, you're not going to draft well enough. You're not going to have you're not drafting high enough. And are you really getting a free agent to Toronto?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, they've never. No. Even with the cachet of having won a championship, and it's too bad because we are. It's one of the great cities in North America, and it's a wonderful place, Toronto. Just as long as you have your woolies, But other than that, good. But hey. Timberwolves, Boston. I'm sorry, no, Toronto's a great place. If people don't know that, so anyway, they should know that.
All right, well, now it's time to talk about Bronny.
Bronny.
I saw Bronny last year. I've seen him in person.
All right,
twice, at least twice. So I saw him about a year and a half ago in a gym in Vegas, and LeBron showed up. And this was an AAU tournament. Bronny was playing up, and it was awesome. I sat right next to LeBron, was talking to him about what it was like. And he wasn't as active as he is now when you see him sometimes running out on the court. He sat in the bleachers.
Yeah.
But the thing that blew me away, Bob, was every single time one of the teammates came off the court, LeBron had something productive to say. He knew every kid's name. Which is impressive. I don't know every one of my daughter's friends' names.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I don't. I mean, they come, they go, right? Like, I know her good friends, but I don't know everyone. He knew everyone's name, and he would give them constructive feedback every single time almost that they came off the floor. It was awesome to watch. Now, again, some people are saying it's too much, right? He ran out in the court the other night. Bronny played against St. Vincent, St. Mary's.
Yeah.
And LeBron's running out in the middle of the court at times. He's done it before at AAU games. He's going in layup lines before the games at AAU games and dunking. Is it too much, or is this fine?
I don't like it on the surface, but if it's if they don't mind, I mean, a lot depends on how Bronny, handles himself. Very much the way the whole the Ball brothers situation in terms of, no,
don't compare them. No, please.
This is a public, amazing thing I'm about to say. A public confession. Actually, in one of my dreams last night, Lonzo and Lavar showed up in one of my dreams last night. So I guess you call that.
Did you wake up in a cold sweat?
A cauchemar, which is French for nightmare. I was a cauchemar. Obviously, if Lavar is at the end of I cannot tell you how that happened, but I can just think I said, oh my God, because I remember thinking, I've never met him before. I've never seen him in person before. Lavar Ball. So
he can be entertaining. I feel bad that it ended the way it did with he and I, because he can be entertaining. As I tell everybody, in small segments. Like, give me an hour, I'm okay. But give me 10 days in Lithuania.
No way. All right, let's back up.
Let's
back to Bronny.
Yes.
This is an interesting phenomenon in general. The son of not just a good player or a player, the son of the top of the mountains. We've had two other examples in recent years of the guys at the top of the mountain, and neither of those kids made it. And they weren't. One would be Kareem, and the other would be Michael. And now Larry had a son, Eddie, who did play through high school. In fact, I went out there to do a story when Larry was playing, and I think he may have played a little bit at Indiana State, but he did. But none of them. But this looks like this could be this kid,
the highest level,
a phenomenon, and just like Daddy was. Now, interesting, Jeff. I see this as a complete parallel to Daddy. 15 years ago, when they were setting new standards by being on national television, when St. Vincent St. Mary was leaving their gym to go play at Akron U, right, at the University of Akron, and they were and I personally got on my high horse and said, I'm not going to. I said this is ridiculous. I'm
not watching a high school kid. Right.
No, I said, I've seen every great player the last 50 years. Now we're up to 60, right? And I'll wait. I can wait, right?
Yep.
Well, guess what? He was worth waiting for, right? LeBron. But
here's why, to me, well, I'll go into why it's different also, but you miss LeBron at his start. Now, again, there aren't many like this, but I've covered kids, I saw Kevin Durant when he was 14 years old. So to be able to watch them and how they progressed from 14 all the way up.
Oh, that's different.
It is cool. It's cool. You see how much he improved his perimeter shot. A lot of people will say, well, LeBron still can't shoot. Like if they had seen him then to now, and then the other part is his body. Yeah. Like I remember talking to LeBron about it last year when he came into Boston and we were talking about Zion. I said, what did you weigh when you were Zion's age? What did you weigh? 240, 245? And he looked at me and he's like, no, like I weighed like 225 at that point. Now he still looked like a man compared to everybody else.
Yeah.
But not compared to somebody like Zion. So anyway, all right. The difference between Bronny and LeBron is, again, LeBron was the best player on the planet. Everybody knew he was going to be an NBA star. Even at that point, he was so much better than everybody else in every single aspect other than shooting the basketball. So he warranted it. Bronny is getting all this. If his father wasn't LeBron, nobody would be in the gym. He'd be just another player. Now, again, I'm not saying Bronny can't be a really good player and he can't be able to play at Duke or Kentucky or one of those elite level schools, and maybe he can be a one and done. But right now, there's other players. Like, for instance, I was at the Peach Jam this past year, summer, July, in Augusta, and on one court was Bronny, okay? And it was packed. You couldn't move. All upstairs around the track, you couldn't get in to see Bronny, okay? Like, everybody. They come in through the back door. They go out through the back door. I mean, it's insane what they have for this kid. On the other court, Bob, was a kid named Amani Bates, who is the best 15-year-old and the closest thing to Kevin Durant that I have seen since Kevin Durant, and is going to be, in my opinion, he will be an NBA star. He will be better than Bronny James. But because Bronny James' father is LeBron, it's taken him to a level that I don't think is fair for the poor kid right now. I feel bad for the kid because he's going to be very good. Don't get me wrong. He could be an NBA player.
Yeah.
But it's not a lock.
No. Well, That's okay. Well, that's good. I need to be educated on this, exactly where he fits. I was, because I've been led to think that he is the second coming of Daddy down the road. But that's good to know. And right, well, obviously, being a high profile kid's going to have its benefits and its negative aspects. And LeBron's got to be really careful with this, because I think in terms of this public, handling of it. For sure, but the whole but it is an interesting topic about. I was trying to make a list in preparation for thinking about sons of NBA players, and over the years, and who's the best one and that ever come along. And there's been a lot of guys that have been maybe played in an all-star game now and there, but just no one. I don't know. It's just interesting to. Mike Dunleavy Jr. was a good player.
Who's the best?
I know. I'm trying to think.
Did Maravich play?
Yeah, but he was a journeyman, totally a journeyman. It's Steph. Del Curry.
It's Steph.
Right now, I think the leader in the clubhouse in this discussion is Steph. By the way,
the closest comparison, and the guy that I actually wanted to get on a podcast, and I'm gonna try to track him down, who could talk about what it's like, would be Marcus Jordan, Michael's younger son, who played at UCF. Wasn't great, but was good. I remember talking to him when he was at UCF. I would love to get him.
Yeah.
But the times have changed too, Bob. That's the thing.
We got Wes Matthews Jr. We got Tim Hardaway Jr. Daddy was a damn good player, but he's not Daddy. And Wes.
You'd have to look at the top 20 players of all time and who.
Jerry's got his Johnny. Did play.
Who?
Johnny. Isn't it Johnny? Is Jerry West's son?
Oh, yeah, he played a little. Was he a walk-on at West Virginia, I think? I think he was only a walk-on.
The Barry.
Oh, yeah.
John was good.
Yep, and John was good.
Drew was one, but John was good, but I don't even think John ever played an all-star game. I don't think so.
And the other thing is they never had social media to boost them up like Bronny's got right now.
That's the difference. I mean, LeBron predates Twitter.
It's...
And the infant days of even email. So I mean, Facebook was not 15 years ago was not what it is today, and there was no Twitter at all. So that does change, as it does for so many things in our lives. Change everything in terms of it. Everything. Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to chart. And I hope the kid's level-headed. I hope that he's got maybe mom has a good strong influence too. Who knows? I don't know. I wish him the best. It's not easy, really.
And he carries himself very well, Bob. Like LeBron. Yeah. Not only is his IQ on the court isn't like LeBron's. He doesn't pass the ball like that. He's actually, from the limited times that I've seen him, he's kind of more of a straight wing right now. Mm-hmm. But he carries himself. It's really impressive to watch him, because you would never know he's LeBron's kid. My guess is he doesn't want to come in through the back door. He wants to be like everybody else, but he can't be. I mean, they're selling out arenas to watch this poor kid who, again, isn't elite of the elite yet. Maybe he'll become that, but I still think – and the thing with him is he plays up in AAU, so he's younger. So you can see he's not dominant because he's a year younger than most of the guys that he's playing with or against. The interesting thing is going to be – whether LeBron ever gets a chance to play with him in the NBA, because he's got to go through 3 more years of high school. LeBron is turning 35
on the 30th of December.
So that puts LeBron, even if this kid can go straight out of high school, if they change the rules by then and he can go out of high school, LeBron is going to be 39 at that point. Do you see LeBron James playing at 39?
I don't know what his ambition is beyond. We know he does have other irons in the fire. We know he does have other things he'd like to accomplish in life. That he's made that, I think, pretty clear about what he's done. I mean, it's. I'll go 50-50 on that one. I think maybe unless he gets some, could always get an injury that would be annoying. He might not. We have no way of knowing what he's going to be like physically at that point. That would be interesting. In the NBA, we've had it in baseball, and of course we had it in hockey with the Gordy and the boys. But that would be we didn't go too far from missing it in football with Jackie Slater and
yeah, that's right.
And Slater, the Patriots.
Matthew.
but because Jackie played 20 years. Anyway, that would be interesting, but yeah, that's a long way down the road, as you say.
Yeah, it's two factors, right? Is LeBron going to be healthy enough and want to play at 39? And is this kid good enough to go either straight out of high school or maybe even a year at wherever he goes to school? Then LeBron's 40. Yeah. 40. Like, what are you with 40? Is LeBron going to be okay with just being a piece?
Probably not. It's Carter. That's the benchmark now for everybody forever and ever. Are you willing to be Vince Carter? Look, because Kevin Willis lasted to 42. But Vince Carter, are you willing to do it and accept your status in the NBA as gracefully as he appears to be doing it, and making a contribution and understanding exactly what he's valuable for, why he's valuable? Yeah, not many guys can humble themselves, I think, when they've been at that level the way Vince appears to have done. Very
true. All right, and on that, we're going to get out of here. I think you may need a shovel today, Bob. You may need to break the shovel back out.
Yeah, the shovel. We have a nice arsenal of shovels ready for you.
so do I. Trust me.
It's sleet. Right
it
now.
is sleet. No, it's
down here. You're up there. I'm down here. Jeff's up way up in the north.
Getting
shore.
More snow.
Down in the south shore of Boston. So there we go.
Well, listen, there you have it. Another edition of the Ryan and Goodman podcast is in the books. I don't know where you're going to be next week for.
Well, on Christmas itself, and I'm going to be in Long Meadow, Mass, with my family, my grandkids, and my daughter-in-law, with my wife and daughter. So we go out, we congregate there in Long Meadow, 2 hours west of here. But basically, other than that, I'm not going out of town. That's Christmas Day. I'll be home all week.
All right, I'll be on the West Coast with my family, Christmas, and San Francisco. My daughter thinks it's going to be like 70 degrees in San Francisco.
Well, it could be good though. You never know. I mean, someone once said the worst winter I ever spent was a summer in San Francisco. So, or words to that effect.
I don't have to break out a shovel, Bob. That's all I know is I will not have to shovel in San Fran. So I'm good. And she just doesn't understand how much walking she's going to have to do in San Fran. That's all.
Up too. A lot of up.
A lot of up. A lot of up. All right. Well, we'll talk next week, and there you have it. Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman podcast.